All right, Justin Leto, legal expert, Miami-based trial attorney. Justin, I have a feeling you're going to be a lot smarter than our last caller. What do you think?
I want the Hank Williams Jr. intro.
Yeah.
Conservative only, right?
What am I supposed to play? I mean, all musicians and actors and athletes, they're all liberal. I mean, what am I supposed to do?
I just told you. All you got to do is play Hank Williams over and over and over again.
That's true. That'd make for a fascinating, pumped-up show. All right, Justin. Now, once again, LetoLaw.com is how people can reach you. We've got an extensive docket today. Are you comfortable with that?
I guess we'll see where we go with it. Let's talk.
All right, fair enough. All right, we're going to cover dad accused of aiming a laser pointer at a hockey goalie. He was at his daughter's hockey game and pointed a laser pointer at the opposing team's goalie. Next story, transgender lady goes into a bar for ladies' night, gets denied a drink. Michigan man files suit over a price of popcorn at local theater. Woman sues college over roommate's sexual appetite. Man sues Southwest Airlines over expired drink coupons. And then the last one, if we get to it, about a Florida mom just doing something so awful. I hope we don't even get to that story.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Yeah, let's just not do that. That's just too depressing. All right, let's start out with a hockey dad. This is in Winthrop. Where is Winthrop? I don't know. Probably Massachusetts?
I don't know. Where is that? I'm trying to think. Where is this thing? No, I think it's in Massachusetts, this story.
Yeah, I guess where do people play like hockey? I guess that'd be in Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's a Boston story, so I think it's Massachusetts.
All right, 42-year-old Joseph Cordes, charged with disturbing the peace in a local hockey game. He took one of those laser pointers, was pointing it at the opposing hockey goalie's eyes, blinding her for periods of time. They caught him. Disturbing the peace, what kind of charge is that? Do you get fined? Is that on your record? What does that actually mean?
It's a misdemeanor charge. It's exactly right. It would be on his record. He's not going to serve any jail time for it or anything like that. Don't you remember those dads in baseball when you were a kid who used to jump up and down and go crazy and scream and yell and play well? This guy's like taking it to the whole other level, trying to blind the goalie.
Right. I always think of, Steve Martin in Parenthood?
Yeah, exactly.
When you've got that crazy dad. Clint Howard was the crazy dad, who's Ron Howard's brother in real life.
I know. He says the guy's got no business being out there.
Right. He was the abusive dad on the Little League baseball team.
We all knew somebody like that growing up, but I never knew a parent who actually tried to physically disable another player in order to get an advantage.
Right. So, by the way, because you know how this legal stuff works, how did the cops, when they're arresting him for doing this, for pointing at a laser pointer, how did they come up with the charge? Or is it the DA disturbing the peace? Like, who looks at this and says, okay, what are we going to charge this guy with? Who does that?
They must have just tried to figure out whatever they could do to fit this in, because certainly there's nothing peaceful about a game of hockey.
Right.
But it seems like this is the only thing that they could make fit with the fact that, I would think that maybe you could do an assault charge if you really wanted to pin it on the guy, because the laser's touching the eye of this player and blinding the player so that they can't see while they're playing goalie. It's dangerous, actually. What if a puck had been shot in the direction of the goalie? They could have really been hurt. That's why this is a serious case.
Huh.
But, the truth is that the guy's not going to serve anything substantial as a result of it, but I think that he's probably the village idiot at this point.
Wait, can you assault somebody without actually physically touching them?
Yeah, actually, an assault is the threat of harm. Battery is the actual harm itself.
Oh.
If you hold your fist up to someone's face and tell them you're going to punch them in the face, that's actually technically an assault. The battery comes when you actually make contact with them with your fist.
This is important. Miranda, our producer, needs to learn that. So on a daily basis, she assaults me, but not batters me, correct? Okay.
Well, I hope she doesn't batter you, but if she's assaulting you, you should tell her to watch.
The relationship is getting that way. Now, let's transition to our next story. A transgender bar patron causes confusion at ladies' night. So she was once a man. She had the surgery to become a woman, and she walked into ladies' night. And ladies' night, you get free drinks, so she was getting free drinks. A bouncer comes up to her and says, "Hey, you're not a lady." Now, technically, she's had the surgery to become a lady. Where do you come down on this? This is interesting.
I don't know, man. I mean, I guess the first thing I could say is that the lady obviously didn't have a very good surgical result because they still think she looks like a dude.
Right.
But, it looks like the the owner apologized and is going to give the people free drinks. So I guess the transgender woman won out on this one and is going to get her free drinks the next time, because what I read is there was a very serious apology from the bar owner apologizing for the way they acted.
Now, would she have a legitimate, I don't know how this discrimination case, because in the eyes of the law, if you have transgender surgery, are you seen in the eyes of the law as a woman or as a man?
I think this is debatable depending on where you are. I've heard arguments from people saying that what you're born as is what you are. But, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community would argue, greatly against that and would advocate for the fact that, once the surgery is performed, that's the gender that they are. Me personally, I think if the person has a legitimate sex change operation, then they should be treated as what they are now. They shouldn't be discriminated against just because the bartender doesn't happen to think they look great as a woman.
Now, that's my next question, though. What about the quality of the sex change operation? Suppose it's not the doctor just botched it. Still, in that case, just the effort to get the surgery, you don't even have to be convincing in what you look like.
Well, that's what I was saying before, is that, if this was a real good surgery, there should be no question that this was a woman. Obviously, this was, just at plain view, a pretty terrible procedure because it still looks like a guy. I would be going back to the doctor, asking the doctor to do this all over again because obviously it was a failure.
Interesting. All right. Now let's talk about Michigan man suing over the high price of popcorn. For people just joining us, talking to Justin Leto, Miami-based trial attorney. You can reach him at letolaw.com, L-E-T-O law.com. And if you have a Facebook page, you can we got a link back to our site. Do you have a Facebook page?
I do, yeah. It's Leto Law Firm Facebook page.
All right. Well, we want to be, because our Facebook friends, we're getting more popular than Katy Perry and Justin Bieber, so we're going to up our numbers. You should join our group, Justin.
I'm already a fan of your show.
All right, good.
You got to be a fan of my law firm.
All right, fair enough.
I've been a fan of your show a long time ago.
All right, good.
I get all your updates, and I comment on them occasionally.
Oh, okay. Very good. Now, Michigan man files lawsuit over high price of movie popcorn. At first, I thought that this was too ridiculous to bring to your attention. But then I kept reading, and it's actually a fascinating lawsuit. This was in the Chicago Tribune, okay? And now one would argue, hey, it's a movie theater. You have the right to not go if you don't want to pay for the popcorn. But then it got more interesting because this movie theater denies people the right to bring in outside food onto the premises. And we've all seen that Seinfeld where Kramer tries to bring in his own coffee, and then he tries to sue with Johnny Cochran as the lawyer, and then he applies the bomb, and he gets no money. But this is interesting because the Michigan Consumer Protection Act is what he's filing under. Where do you come down on this as far as the price of popcorn? Is the movie theater in the wrong here? What's going on?
I mean, I'm confused because I always remember, even from when I was a kid, that nobody was ever allowed to bring any other outside goods into the movie theater. So that's the first thing that struck me is I'm surprised that this is the first time this guy is learning of it, or the first time this theater is trying to prevent it. But, if the consumer law says that they can't prevent him from bringing in his own food and try to, basically price gouge him is what he's saying they're doing, because the price of popcorn is so expensive at the movies, maybe he's got a legitimate argument. I don't know if it's worth, if you can't afford the popcorn, I don't know if it's worth paying for the lawyer, but I guess, that's a whole other argument in and of itself.
Right.
But, it seems kind of like a silly principle sort of argument. When you go to the movies, even back in the 80s when Seinfeld was on in the 90s, they were doing this like you said. So I don't think it's a big surprise to anybody that you can't bring your own food in.
All right, but the law allows an establishment to discriminate. Remember, this is a non-food establishment. You're going there to see a movie. So if you want to bring in a Snickers bar in your pocket, you're saying that the law is on the side of the movie theaters and that there's case law here where you just can't do that.
Well, no. According to the Michigan law here, the Consumer Protection Act, it prevents price gouging. We all know about price gouging from gasoline, especially down here where I live in Florida during hurricanes. Mm-hmm. There's always the concern of people price gouging at the pump because there's a limitation on the amount of fuel. The argument here is that preventing you from bringing in your own food and then charging you an exorbitant amount for what you have to buy at the movie theater amounts to that, to price gouging. Okay. I would argue that doesn't really fly because, yeah, true, you go to the movies to see a movie, but everybody knows that the moment you walk in the movie theater, the very first thing you do is buy popcorn and a soda. So it goes hand in hand. I don't think this is a really legitimate case.
Okay, interesting. We're being joined by the legal genius, some call him the Clarence Darrow of South Florida, Justin Leto, Miami-based trial attorney, letolaw.com. Justin, you still with us?
I'm here.
Is it Clarence Darrow or Clarence Darrow?
I don't even know who that is.
1920s. He was the one that was the attorney involved in Evolution. What's the famous play?
Man, you are way better read than I am. I stick to law.
Inherit the Wind? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Yeah, that rings a bell. But
okay.
Still, I guess I'm just not well read.
Okay.
You said I'm a genius, and now you're making me look stupid.
All right. I overpromise and underdeliver. It's a story of my life. All right, now let's get to the legal case of Lindsay Blankmeyer, former student at Stonehill College in Easton, Massachusetts. She's seeking $150,000 in damages under the Federal Fair Housing Act by suing her school. She's saying that her female roommate would engage in sexual congress. That's another word for activity, correct?
Sexual congress?
Yes. I'm breaking out the vocabulary.
Very interesting.
Sexual congress with her male roommate, not the male, just her male boyfriend, and that she would engage in video chatting, Skype, very sexual in nature. The roommate asked the university to be moved. She's saying the university was uncooperative. The university's arguing that they were cooperative. The woman had to eventually move into a hotel room where she suffered from depression. Who wins this case?
I think the school. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why. I mean, if you read deeply into this article a little more, I feel terribly for this poor girl, but it sounds like she's mentally ill.
Yeah.
And she has a history of mental illness coming into this situation. And, you know, I guess I feel for her if this roommate was that promiscuous that she just didn't care that her roommate was right there while she was having sex. But they did offer her other accommodations. She just wasn't happy with them. They offered her one change of room, and she thought that dorm was partying too hard. Then they offered her another private room, and she said it was too small. You know, they tried their best to accommodate this girl, but it just didn't seem like anything was good enough. I feel terrible, like I said. She sounds like she's pretty sick, but it's just not going to work out for her. It's not
okay, so you're saying by the university attempting to accommodate, giving her options, and this girl saying no, that essentially waives any liability.
Yeah, I think that they've done everything they can to accommodate her. The school is not in a position to start giving her a hotel room out of their own pocket. They're doing what they can with what they have, and I think they've done a decent job in offering her alternate accommodations.
Okay. I'm going to side with you on that. It's amazing how different her college experience was from mine. Nothing like that ever went on.
You had the wrong roommate.
I think I went to the wrong college. All right. Southwest Airlines. Very interesting. I find this case fascinating. I'm on Southwest all the time. And the only thing is that it bothers me that they don't assign seats. It sounds cool in theory, like rolling around in leaves sounds cool in theory. But it doesn't work because I always end up checking in late, and I always get sat next to two obese people who are sweating next to the bathroom. But back to Southwest Airlines. So they have a program called Business Select. If you pay a little more, you get free drink coupons. And when they first started this program a couple years back, on the actual coupon, there was no expiration date printed on the coupon. Okay, this is cut and dry. And now they have an expiration date where they say, look, if you get this coupon as part of the Business Select program, if you don't use it the day that you travel, then it expires. You can't just collect these and then get wasted on our flights. Now, a couple passengers who have accumulated many coupons are suing. First, does this lawsuit hold any water? And second, these are $5 drinks. How could it be worth anybody's time to file suit here? I mean, this is an actual Reuters story, so this is real. How is this even possible? Go ahead.
Well, just for starters, I think I hate to knock another lawyer's work or anybody who's doing anything in the legal system because they have a right to do it.
Go ahead.
But this is just plain ridiculous. Isn't it inherently understood that if you get something on a flight for something that you can use on that flight, that you can't just start stockpiling it and using it on later flights? What are you going to give it out to your friends? Or if it's worth $5, you're going to sell it for $2.50 so you can make a profit off Southwest free drink tickets? Mm-hmm. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And I think it said one person here had 43 tickets. Mm-hmm. What, are you going to ask for 43 drinks on one flight? It's absolutely ridiculous. As far as to the second point, as to who makes any money off these things, two things. First of all, if you sue under the right statute, a lawyer can collect their attorney's fees for the work they do. So you could have a case that's worth $10, but if you do $100,000 worth of work to get there, you can collect all your attorney's fees for that very small award. So it makes it profitable for the lawyer to take the case on. The second potential option is if you have enough people throughout the country that have these tickets that they can't redeem, $5 becomes a whole lot of money when you're exponentially adding people to the list.
Interesting.
So it becomes a class action type deal. So there's a lot of different ways to look at how it could be profitable, but as a whole, I just find this lawsuit to be ridiculous.
Now, your emotion aside, because as they say, Aristotle once said, the law is reason free from emotion. I learned that by watching Legally Blonde 1.
Legally Blonde, of course. I was going to say, you didn't get that from Aristotle.
No, I got it from Legally Blonde. Okay, I don't even know who Aristotle is. All right, the question I have for you, though, is that on the coupon, there is no expiration date. So in theory, even though you hate these guys suing Southwest Airlines, could they win this case?
No, I don't think so. I don't think you need to put an expiration date on something just to have an understanding between yourself and the vendor that it's to be used.
But then you're saying that airlines can change their programs at any moment.
Of course they can.
Okay.
And I don't even think they need to change their program. I don't think they ever need to put an expiration date on it because I think it should be understood that that ticket is given to you on that flight, and when that flight ends, that ticket also expires. I think it's a perfectly reasonable way to interpret that contract.
Okay. And Justin, look, we only have 45 seconds left, so I want, if you can, this super fast, like Micro Machines. The New York Mets, the owners are being sued. by Bernie Madoff and, the people trying to get their money back from the Bernie Madoff stuff because they made hundreds of millions off Bernie Madoff. A court just ruled they have to pay $83 million. What's your whole take on this New York Mets scenario?
To all my fellow Mets fans, and I'm a diehard, the Madoffs need to sell the team, and they need to sell it now. They've run this beautiful franchise into the ground. They're an embarrassment. I'm embarrassed to watch them, and a team like this should not be getting the short end just because the owners were involved in some fraud with Bernie Madoff. It's
what was it? Saul Katz, and what was the other guy's name? Fred Wilpon.
The Wilpons. Fred Wilpon, they're brothers, the Wilpons. And I'm not saying that they're criminally responsible, but they were somehow involved in this deal, and they've run this franchise into the ground as a result, and they need to sell the team and do what's right for the fans instead of being
right. And look, these are smart, sophisticated businessmen. When you're dealing with Madoff and you're getting 12% guaranteed returns for decades, they're dishonest. They were either let's just flat out call they're dishonest. They're liars, and they deserve to go to jail.
They turned a blind eye. They knew they were getting ridiculous profits.
Right.
It's impossible to get that.
Yeah. I mean, that's just common sense. All right, Justin Leto, as always, your analysis is appreciated. LetoLaw.com. Enjoy Florida, man. Great stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
All right, brother. Very cool.